Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another monthly stand-up. This one's for August 2024 on the .NET MAUI Community Toolkit. How's everybody doing? Sean, how's your week?
Yeah, it's been good. It's been pretty hot here in the UK. I say hot, still sub 30, but it's hot for us. But it's good. I mean, we're almost at the weekend, which is even better.
Good. Try to stay cool. James, welcome to the team. Welcome to the show. For anybody who hasn't met James yet, we'll officially announce it in just a minute, but James has joined the core maintainer team. He's our media element extraordinaire, media element expert. If you've used media element, you've used his code. So excited to have you. James, how are you
I'm
doing?
excited to be here. I've been waiting a long time to join the team. This is the first community I've joined.
Well, we
And
are honored. I saw you pushing through pull requests literally minutes ago. So thank you.
well, that was my first thing, and I double checked it because I had to make sure that somebody else had actually looked at it first before I wanted to do the first one, right? No, because I had somebody else that approved it, right? And they'd done the changes that were required.
Right. Make sure there's somebody else that you can also blame for that bug that sneaks in.
Yeah.
That's what I do.
We're not CrowdStrike, so let's not do that,
yeah? We do deploy on Fridays, though. Although,
did
that outage happen on a Friday? I don't remember.
It was like a Friday morning here. It was like Thursday night.
They must have been watching our stand-ups. So like, well, these guys do it for the toolkit.
It was sunny here last week, and now it's sunny again this week. So it's been nice weather here.
Love it. Yeah, I'm currently in Wisconsin at that conference. It's called that conference. Wow. And yeah, it's hot. It's muggy here. It's humid. It's in the 90s. So we're pushing 30. But Vlad, how are you doing? How's the weather over in your side of the world?
Yeah, hello. So I survived the hottest summer ever. We have about 40 degrees Celsius, and it's about 1,000 Fahrenheit. So yeah, it was very hot, but now it's about 30. So yeah, it's much better than 40. And yeah, I missed 2 last stand-ups, but yeah, for the time I participated in some conferences as a speaker. Also, I have final preparations for my PhD defense this month. So yeah, I was pretty busy that time, but I'm happy that I'm here.
Incredible. Congrats, Vlad. Yeah, I'd say if anybody has a valid excuse to miss a silly little stand-up like this, it's you. Certainly with the PhD defense going on. I don't know if any of us have PhDs, so you'll officially be the smartest person in the room. And then also, last month we had to reschedule because the stand-up was going to be on the 4th of July, which is a U.S. Holiday, so I couldn't make it, and a bunch of folks couldn't make it, so we pushed it back a week, and Vlad's like, we won't have electricity here where I am in the Ukraine at that time, which that's the most valid reason I think I could ever imagine for not making it to a meeting. So glad to have you back, Vlad. We love you. It's always good to see you. Cliff, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. Good to be back again. Like I said earlier, it seems to come around so quick. It seems like only a week ago that we was doing this, and life is crazy, busy. So unlike Sean, no, I won't be off this weekend. I'm working this weekend. So today is my day off. So back to work again tomorrow. So but good to be back. So I've got a few discussions to talk about this week or this month. I keep saying weeks. It feels like a week. It's not. It's a month. So I'll get used to it. I promise.
I don't know if I could survive doing one every week.
No.
I feel like I always walk away with these with a to-do list, and I couldn't imagine my to-do list if we did it every week. Victor, last but not least, welcome back. Good to see you again. How you doing?
Yeah, 2 months as well as the other folks not joining, but I have been pretty focusing on removing all the unverified labels from the repository issues. So like 20 or 30 of them have been closed lately. So yeah, happy to be back.
Yeah, thank you so much for doing that. For anybody else who doesn't subscribe to all the email alerts on the Toolkit repo like we do, yeah, Victor went through and through the backlog of issues to ensure that bugs that were filed could be reproduced. If they couldn't, said, hey, I can't reproduce this. Can you help me out? Or sometimes it was, hey, this was actually fixed a long time ago. We forgot to close this bugs. Thank you, Victor. That's so much work. It's hard, tedious work too. So I really appreciate it.
Studios, but love to help.
Love it. Well, let's jump into the agenda today because we actually have a bunch of stuff to talk about. But I want to kick it off first with, well, I guess let me share the link to the stand-up here in the chat so everybody else can follow along. As always, we publish all of our stand-up notes here on the wiki. So if you ever navigate to the wiki, you can scroll down to the monthly stand-ups. And then this is where you can find every stand-up going all the way back to 2022, when really is when I decided to just, I was like, why don't I post these online? Like, I do it in Markdown and I share it with the team anyways. But anyways, first order of the day, James, you are now officially a core maintainer. You won in the elections in a landslide. Nobody has anything bad to say about James because you're amazing. And obviously the work you've done speaks for itself. So welcome to the team. What any wisdom, any wise words you'd like to share with other folks out there who maybe also want to join the maintainer team this time next year?
Stay positive. Have always think of what other people will say when or think about what you say when you post anything. Mostly, I'm like, if it's generally negative, the only time I think about posting anything negative is about what I do, not about what other people do. If you can't spin what they're saying in a positive way, try not to say it. I started off with nothing. Basically, I had zero skills when I first discovered MAUI. I knew nothing about C#. Everything I've learned from either online classes or from actually using the community toolkit. When I fixed my first bug, it was, I think, a single line of code that fixed, I don't even remember what I fixed, but I fixed something. And it was a single line, and it took about 3 weeks to get it approved. And that was my first contribution to the toolkit. And from there, I spent about a year working on Fullscreen. And the first time it completely failed because I full-screened the page, not the element. So that didn't work. And then I worked with Hugo, or no, Hugo. Sorry, his name again is
Victor.
Victor, yeah. I worked with Victor, who actually had a much better idea for how to do it. I did a lot of the legwork for the back end, hooking everything up, but he figured out everything for how to do it in a way that is much better, I could say, is the language at the time. And we worked together on it. It took about a month or two, and we put it out. And I honestly think he did a lot of the real work. I just sort of took what I had found on Stack Overflow and different places on GitHub and put it together to as a package. And although a lot of the code looks really nice, a lot of that actual code is not mine. It's just stuff I found and adapted for the toolkit.
That still counts, James. You're too humble. Well, we're thrilled to have you. Glad it all worked out, and you'll be seeing a lot from James over the next year, I'm sure. Like I said, I already saw you reviewing merging pull requests just in the last 24, 48 hours since you've had maintainer access. So thank you. Welcome. Now, Gerald's not here, so this is one of my favorite parts where we get to volunteer Gerald to push out some more releases for us. But we've had a bunch of bug fixes come through, and there was one that, why don't we just jump ahead, and this one actually affects all of the repos. And it was a cool suggestion from Philip, and Thank you, Philip, and also thanks for kicking off this PR and doing the work. But it was one that I didn't know we could remove our dependency on Microsoft MAUI controls compatibility library. And Philip kind of came in, he's like, hey, not sure why you have this. Like, he's like, I don't want it in my library. And he's like, to be honest, you're not really using the compatibility library in the toolkit. Like, there's 2 places where you're using it. Do we really need it? And it turns out some of the code that was still using it was just dead code. Nothing referenced it. There was no viable paths to that code ever even being reached. So that was easy. We pulled that out. And then the other one was super simple. It's an extension method when you're in the platform specific code. I forget which way is which. And I mean, we got the pull request right here. We could figure it out. But it's that 2-color extension method. So let's see.
Oh, yeah, they got the platform to color now. You can use that.
Yeah, so in Xamarin Forms, you used to say you could grab a .NET, well, we'll say in Xamarin Forms, this was a Xamarin Forms color object, the background color. And then if you're in this case, the Android library, you could say .to Android, and we convert it to the Android specific type for the same color. And yeah, I had no idea they changed that to .to platform. So it was pretty painless to remove this, other than James saved me. I messed up the sample app for a couple hours because the sample app, I just removed the use MAUI part in the CS proj, which you need that for your app, but you don't need that for your library. So if you're publishing libraries to NuGet, think twice about whether you want to have this use MAUI line of XML in your CS proj, because if you don't need it, you don't need it, and you don't need to include it. But you do need it for your sample app. So thanks for saving me on that one, James. But yeah, this is one that touches every single library. And then we've also had, I think I saw some bug fixes for media element come through, bug fixes for community toolkit.maui, and then I've even added in a new feature in the markup library. So I guess this would probably be 4.1 since we're adding a new feature. So Gerald, I know you're listening, and whenever you get a chance, we'll publish all these libraries. Maybe we'll do it tomorrow because it's a Friday, so why not, right? Okay, well, let's jump into it. Let's jump into the first proposal. James, holy cow.
Media 3, that actually came out just 2 days ago. Xamarin pulled out a surprise push to main, pushing the Media 3 libraries. So I instantly started messaging everybody, oh my God, it's out. So I started figuring out maybe I could try porting media element to it. I can tell you, it basically works now. It's fully working. There's transient dependency issues, and there's a discontinuity error on the Media 3, one of the Media 3 libraries that's causing an issue with the iPlayer interface, the listener, not working. So there's a few bugs, but that's probably an implementation issue, and we're probably going to want to wait at least 2 to 3 weeks to see if we can get rid of all the transient dependencies that we've basically forced in there just to get it to work right now. Other than that, everything just sort of a few lines of code and it's fixed.
James, again, you're incredible. You impress me every day. So to back up a second, for folks who might not be familiar with this whole saga, Android, well, the media element has been using what's called Exoplayer. Exoplayer was the Android library we were using for media element. It's actually why media element exists in its own NuGet package, because the Exoplayer library was also its own NuGet package. We didn't want to add that to the whole community toolkit library and force everybody to install this dependency they didn't need. But even from day one, when we implemented the media element on the community toolkit, the Exoplayer was deprecated by Android. They upgraded to something called Media 3, which is the work James doing here. But our problem was we didn't have that Media 3 library in C# yet. So Google released it. The Android library was out there, but the .NET team at Microsoft finally finished wrapping that up in C#, publishing it for us to use. And 2 days later, James has already knocked out the majority of the work. I assume James will just promote this from draft to ready for review whenever you've got those transitive dependencies we were talking about figured out. Is that right?
Yeah, it shouldn't. It's either going to be in a day or two, or it's going to be a couple of weeks to wait for the repos to sort themselves out, because I'm getting a runtime error where it's crashing because of a class conflict, and that's
I see.
It's a Java class conflict between multiple libraries, because what I've done is basically I force pushed transient dependencies at certain version numbers in order to get it to even basically compile. And it's initially it works fine in the as a library, but as soon as you add the library to the sample app, you get transient dependency issues.
Gotcha. Good old NuGet dependencies.
But... And it's also dependent on the camera pushing version updates for the MAUI camera. And once you push the MAUI camera app up, it removes its own transient dependency force pushes.
Good catch.
And it's dependent on that. So there's a few different issues. It shouldn't take too long. It's two issues. It's the library issue, and if the library issue goes away, it may actually just make it work now.
Right on. All right. Well, appreciate it, James. We'll definitely keep an eye on it, and yeah, whenever you're ready for us to take a look, or when it's ready to go live, yeah, bump that up from draft to ready for review. You can suggest or grab one of us and the reviewers here, and then we can push it through. Amazing.
Is this meaning that it's no longer going to have a dependency? So we're still going to keep it as a separate package?
Well, yeah, we're still going to have the Xamarin dependencies. It's just the right now I have extra Xamarin transient dependencies pushed in there. You can see they're like lifecycle common, collection, KTX, and JVM. Those are all there just so it will compile right now. Because there's issues with, like, say, MAUI has a transient dependency with a certain specific library that I won't mention, but it's a lower version than what all these libraries are expecting. So that is an issue itself. I bumped it by this library configuration. And this here on the right side of the page is considered artwork to actually get it right, which means basically in another week, if they push updates, I could have to change this all again. Ideally, we don't want to push this at all until we're just down to the 3 that we normally have.
So we're going to keep it as a separate package going forward as well, which keeps it, Okay.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, that's kind of been our rule of thumb, is if it requires an extra dependency, we'll put it in a separate NuGet package so we don't force that on every single consumer of communitytoolkit.maui. Be nice one day if Android didn't do this to us, but I think Android's put a flag in the ground that says we're pushing our updates via libraries, and in our case, these are NuGet packages, and that's the fun world we get to live in with Android.
And then the other question before we move on, sorry to jump in, Brian, but James, is it going to require any changes to the documentation, or is the actual... It may
require some changes, because basically I removed about close to 80% of the code. Like, that does things for, like, notifications. So all the audio subsystem's been reworked to basically not use the deprecated libraries I had in there. So I just removed the app, because the thing is, a lot of the handling, the notification handling, is now done directly by the Android operating system directly. It's no longer handled by me. It's no longer handled by us. So essentially, as soon as anything below Android 33 gets deprecated, I can remove almost everything that I put in, except for the basic notification.
And this works backwards compatible back to older Android versions?
Well, the code I put in before is backwards compatible, and I've adapted it, and it let me remove a bunch of things that I had in there before. Like, I had the stuff in there for the audio subsystem, and I had stuff in there for audio ducking. And the audio ducking now is just handled directly by the player with a setting that you can set directly on the Exo player.
Okay.
And that's not a breaking change, but it is a change. It will be the same behavior, but it will be handled better because it's actually handled directly by Google.
Awesome. Great work.
Cool. Good shout out, Cliff. Yeah, definitely want to make sure we test that on older simulators or older phones if you got if you got one. I think I still have a old Samsung Galaxy S3 or something like that. I can test it out on. But
the only reason I mentioned documentation is obviously if we make a change obviously some people might have the older version of the media player, and when they go back to the docs, we're gonna need to have like a banner or something near the top, which I'm sure Sean is very good at doing.
Their code won't need to change for this behavior. It's not going to be a breaking change. It'll be a changes, and it'll be the same behavior. It'll just work better at doing the same thing.
Okay. Fair enough. I misunderstood that. I thought you was taking some bits out. No, awesome. Fantastic.
No, if it was a breaking change, I would be discussing it here, trying to figure out whether or not it's okay to do that. Because I don't want to like break a library for like however many people use it, because I thought, oh, this is a great idea. Let's start the player upside down instead of normal mode. Like, just because I felt like that was a better idea doesn't mean it's a good idea.
Keep our Australian friends happy, though.
Yes, it would.
I suspect it would be a wise breaking change anyway, because Exoplayer is not. Is it obsolete, or it's not the official way to do it anymore? Is it?
Obsolete,
Media 3 is the way to go. So
the Exoplayer we're using now with Media 3 is the current main and is what they actually recommend you use. This is the version that they recommend.
The one we're moving to, or the one we are using?
The one we're moving to is the current main.
Yeah.
Recommended one. Yeah.
Yeah. If anybody dug into the media element code, or you launched it in Visual Studio, you'd get immediately hit with a bunch of warnings about how Exoplayer is deprecated. Don't use this API anymore. It's like, well, it's all we got. So it looks like it's still working for now. But yeah, love that this is finally here. We don't have to worry about the next version of Android breaking our library because of that.
I will mention that I do want to spend an extra couple of weeks on this and remove all of the deprecated libraries in Exoplayer. And to do that, I'm going to have to rewrite some things, because right now I'm using a broadcaster that's just deprecated like almost a dozen versions back. And it's deprecated in like Android 21. And it's still there, and they say they're basically just supported forever. But we should probably stop using it, because I already know better methods for sending this data from one place to another. Like we don't have to do it this way. I can fix it, but in order to do that, I would want permission first to modify and change the class I'm using to basically send data back and forth between the activity and the notification or the service. And I'm happy to do it either way. That's sort of an eyesore is the deprecated library.
Yeah, it sounds good. Feel free to open up a discussion or proposal, and you can kind of show us what you're thinking and tag a couple of us in it, and we can. I'm sure it's fine, James. I trust you, but let's keep rolling because we've only got about 30 minutes left. The next one, James, this is you too. Fullscreen events. We've got a new PR open.
Yeah, Fullscreen events. Basically, I've been seeing a few requests for people wanting to hook the event itself and change things. At this point, there is no interface for setting full screen or not full screen in iOS. They just won't allow you to do that. There's unofficial ways that will like get you stopped from accessing the store. Like if you want to do a non-store app and you just want to run it at home, you can do it. But at this point, this version here hooks all events, whether it's iOS, Windows, Mac, Android, will notify the user. Right now, in a sample app, it just simply prints a line to the screen saying, "Hey, you've entered full screen, you've exited full screen," and basically it's a bindable property that you can access using the media element interface. And it's basically it's an event, so you just hook it like any other event, and it just simply tells you, it simply notifies you when full screen happens and when it doesn't. And I believe, I'm not sure if I put it in there, but you can actually access the state directly at any time and just ask, am I full screen or not?
Makes sense to me. I'll be honest with you, James, I haven't had time to look at this. I'm traveling this week, and then I'll be on vacation next week. What are the next steps? What do you need from us now that the PR's open?
Well, I just need people to look at it and tell me if they're happy with the implementation, and I just have a few people besides me test it because I wrote it. So
sounds good. Any
I
volunteers?
get feedback on whether or not they like the way it works.
Love it. Yeah, and everybody here have some time. Like I said, I'll be out of town for a couple weeks, but happy to look at it when I get back. If there's anybody that has some time next week, that'd be great too.
Oh, and there's subtitles too.
I may have some time next week. I may have a day next week, but it'll be towards the end of the week, and then I'll go on holiday the following week. So yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, hit me up, Cliff, before you head out, and I can pick up where you left off, or if everything's good, we can just approve it and merge it. That works too.
Cool.
Speaking of subtitle support, we'll skip ahead and grab that one. We'll keep going with the James show. James, we got a PR here for subtitle support for Media Element.
Yeah, it supports plain text subtitles in either the SRT or subrip format, or in the VTT version. I implemented my own parser because both Android and Windows does support it directly, but iOS doesn't, and neither does Mac. iOS does support it if you wrap it in an HLS M3U8 URL. But to do that, basically, you have to write out the URL and handle all of that yourself. And there are lots of people that already do that. And but our player doesn't support that. Like right now with M3U8 URLs, we just play whatever the default is. We have no support beyond that. We'll probably get to that later, but that is what this is about. To add subtitle support, basically what I did is I took a text box and I simply printed on the screen on top of the media player, and it plays the subtitles based on the timings. And if you scroll down, there's a bunch of videos there for people to take a look at. And you can basically, I'm not sure if this is an updated version, but this is, here we go. Yeah, it plays the media, and it's all unified now, so they all look the same.
Very cool. Is there any concerns about, folks are able to change the playback speed, watch a video on 2x? Does it handle?
I haven't tried that. Like I haven't gone. I actually never thought of trying that.
Okay, right on. Yeah, I see this one's a big one. This is almost 2,000 lines of code. So it's probably going to take us a while to get through it, review it. But yeah, again,
there's going to be async await issues that I'm going to need your help with.
Oh, love it. I just did a talk on async await.
I've watched that talk. I don't know how many times now. I'm still learning.
It's a fickle beast in C#. It's one of those things that's async await so easy to use, but if you really don't know what the compiler does with your code, then you might be using it wrong. But okay, cool. Well, thanks, James. Yeah, I can volunteer to jump into this when I get back. But our track record previously with big PRs like this, usually it'll take another stand-up or two to get through. But you know the drill now, and now you're one of us. You need to you get to go through it with us. Okay. Oops, I forgot. Oh, this is Vlad. On device Android speech recognition support.
Yeah, as for this pull request, if you open file changes, you can see it's a pretty small pull request. It has only 11th line of changes. And why I decided to put it in our stand-up. So according to this implementation, it just updates our current speech-to-text implementation and enables on-device recognition when it's available, instead of using like online like speech recognition through the internet. That is why it's a good question how it actually works. Does it provide the same recognition result, the same, is it accurate and get the same result as the online recognition. Also, according to the speed, how it works. My question probably here, should we split and implement another API separate for offline recognition? Maybe it will be the better solution, because actually Android, as you can see, it supports such implementation. Also the same available on Windows, and we had it in version 1, but then we removed it. Yes, so the only one thing left is Apple implementation, but as far as I remember, the latest iPhone and probably Macs support offline recognition, like Siri box for some commands when your device is not connected to the internet. So probably then I would suggest to probably close this PR and implement a new API that will support offline speech recognition, and that will be up to user which API to use. So if he connected to the internet or not, or so it will be not rely on us and check if device support or does not support it.
I agree 100%. Yeah, Vlad, I was actually going to ask you, I was like, I feel like we did this with Windows, but I don't remember what we did. So on Windows, we just removed on device and it's only internet on Windows. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right. Because that was the same thoughts that popped into my head when I saw this was, does it work just as good on device as it would in the cloud? And I'm guessing no, just because servers are more powerful in the cloud. But yeah, I think you're right. I think if we push forward with this, then it should be an option. Like, George mentioned here in the comments that, can the user choose to use on device or online? And yeah, I think you're right, because let's assume on device is not as good, then I can guarantee we'll see some bugs in the future about people complaining about the speech recognition text accuracy, but they're not able to reproduce it because they don't know what's going on, and it's because we have this like buried little if statement. So yeah, I think that's the right move, Vlad.
Also, number of languages that offline recognition supports, so probably English will be available everywhere, but for example, Ukrainian maybe only work online. So it's also limited for on-device recognition, and that is another reason why I think we should split it on two separate APIs. We may have maybe property or method that will return is on-device recognition available, and based on it, people can just choose which methods they want to and how they want to convert their speech to text.
Might even be nice to be able to say, oh, I'd prefer to use online, but I'll happily fall back to on device if there's no internet connectivity.
Having the option to pick and choose and go, if the internet's not working, use the on device, but if the internet's working, just always use it. And being able to have the users be able to make that decision themselves and implement it themselves.
Yeah, actually on Windows initial implementation, we choose to, based on internet connection, we decided to use online or offline, but, and it was in background, so people will just have one method and it automatically switch between online and offline recognition. But if we allow them to explicitly choose which recognition they prefer, maybe someone not prefer to use online recognition because they don't know how it works, and I don't know, they don't want to send their voice to some online servers. And they prefer to use offline recognition. So we should probably split it onto APIs.
And for the offline recognition, am I right in saying that it uses the language pack that the phone has? So if you're like for yourself, Vlad, your phone is probably set up for Ukrainian and stuff like that. So is it will it have that language pack on it, or will it always just be US English?
I think it still depends if language pack supports speech to text, because it may support like language translation, for example, Ukrainian localization, but it may not support like this speech to text and cannot recognize the voice and some dialects, maybe something like that.
So with that in mind, then we might want to also add a way of, if it is on device, alerting the user of the app the fact that their language pack isn't supported.
Yeah, it will be up to user, and actually the API will be the same. Probably method will be the same. It has the same parameters, but it will be up to users what they have installed on their device and how to use it.
Yeah.
Okay, right on. It sounds like we all agree. So thanks for bringing this up today, Vlad. If you could do me a favor. Yes, we're gonna have to close this PR, and obviously that sucks. I hate when someone from the community puts a bunch of effort in. We can't merge it, but yeah, Vlad, if you could put together a quick proposal, kind of summing up what we just talked about, and hopefully we can redirect the user here that opened this up, RT Weed. Yeah, we can direct me the new proposal and see if they're on board with continuing this effort. Because that'd be great. But yeah, it always sucks when we have to throw away code, but I think this is definitely the right way to go. All right, into the discussions. So Cliff, I apologize. I put a question mark here because anytime someone adds a label to a PR or an issue, it's there in the activity log that Gerald added this label to the issue. So I know who wanted to talk about it, but discussions don't do that for some reason. So I just kind of assume it's always you, Cliff. But we have the first one here about storing window sizes.
Yeah, I did add that earlier today. That was because we spoke about this last month, but there's only 2 of us, so we couldn't make a decision. So I wanted to make sure we picked up. Now there's 6 of us, then we can decide whether we want to bring it in. But there is, at the bottom, literally an hour or 2 ago, there was a bit more discussion about whether we should or shouldn't bring it in. I think there was talk about the fact that Mark has raised the point that Morton's library exists and we should all just go and use that. But I didn't know Morton's library existed, and I've built this myself. So I've forgotten who else it was. BMA Coombe has put as well. Actually, they've replied after, so I've not seen their reply at the bottom there, saying that actually maybe we should put this into the library. It's got enough upvotes to meet the grade of us talking about it. Hence, we spoke about it last month, and then it's come back again this month. So there's 6 of us now. We can decide whether we should bring it in, shouldn't bring it in, whether it's something that should be worked on or not. Whether we could just port Morton's library in, like I can't imagine it's many lines of code. I think
this would be very handy.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I can give several reasons to use it just for media element by itself. Yeah. I've implemented things that do probably part of what this does, because I have to get window size for the subtitles. I had to do a bunch of calculations, and this would probably cut down somewhat on that code size.
Yeah. I'm all for it. I must admit, because I've written this code a few times for apps I've developed for clients, and I've cut and pasted it from old projects that I've used. I didn't know Morton had one. It looks a great library. I had a look at it earlier today, but it's discoverability, isn't it? But should we reinvent the wheel just to make it more discoverable, or should we just have a way of sort of highlighting it to people that this library is out there? I could be persuaded either way.
I mean, obviously, I'd say the easiest thing, and certainly for the future, so less bugs for us to fix, would be highlighting into the docs. So I could see a path where we start with that, because, like, Cliff, you could knock out a docs PR today, and then we could be, if people read the docs, we'd be helping point them to there. But
we might be in a grey area recommending other libraries.
That was my only thought. Was having that.
pages. I think
Yeah, because we're then kind of saying that they're good libraries.
Well, yeah, our Microsoft website is directing them to something, and if that disappears, then
yeah,
I don't know.
I never even thought that. Yeah,
I think it has come up before as to whether we could have a page like that recommending.
Yeah, that's a good point. I forgot about that. Got rules. Microsoft's got rules. I guess probably the next lowest effort one would be we add a dependency to it for the Windows library. I know we literally just said we don't want to add dependencies, but I think this one makes sense because every Windows user would likely take advantage of it in one way or another. I don't know if that'd be the right way to go. We probably want to circle up with Morton also to get his opinion on it. But yeah, what do you think? Would we go the route of adding as a dependency or copy pasting code, or what would you have in mind, Cliff?
I was like I said, I could be persuaded either way, but I think for discoverability and to make it work, and I'm not a Mac user. I very rarely use a Mac, so I don't know if this would be beneficial on Mac as well, or if it could or should be done on a Mac. The way they work, maybe somebody who does use a Mac could think about it as well. But the projects I've worked on, the client wants it to always be in the same position, the same size. So I wrote some code that did that. It's probably nowhere near as good as Morton's because he's far better at developing than I am. But whether we bring it in and we make it part of the library, I could be persuaded either way because it is unique to Windows.
Have you looked at all the methods to see that if any of them have issues, or?
I've not. No, I literally only found out about this a few hours ago, and I've not had time to go through it. But I had a quick look, and it looks pretty comprehensive and pretty decent library.
Who's it by?
Fairly well known library. It's got 586 stars on GitHub, so it's not like it's an unknown package.
George is in the chat as well, saying he would say no to adding a dependency. There you go. I agree. I don't think dependencies are a great way forward, but
we could just start implementing the features that we want, like the features that we can use. Like that looks like a huge library. I mean, like it was. We were like you were mentioning a few specific features. We could just start implementing those features and use them as a reference. Like we could say, we based it upon their work, and then reference them that way and give them credit for that.
I'd be more inclined to somehow direct them to the library rather than
or direct them to the library. It's up to you guys.
It's how we do that though. Sean is the interesting bit.
Have we considered talking to them and saying, if they have any issues with us, just stealing their code? Essentially, because is it an open source project where we can do that?
It is.
What's their library license, right?
Yeah, the license.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think whatever we do, we should reach out to Scott Morton. I know
sure.
The company he works for actually contributed the camera view to the toolkit.
Yes.
So it's certainly willing to share things. But I guess, if there's something there that does the job, do we need to do it?
So here's my thought.
Yeah.
If we have a feature that we need inside the toolkit, we could just implement it directly, couldn't we? Because right now, what do we have that would need it?
I think for today, because it sounds like I see kind of two issues here. One, discoverability for .NET MAUI users to consume Morton's library, because Morton's been around in the Windows world for a long time. He's very well known in the Windows world. His libraries are well known to Windows developers, but MAUI developers like us might not have ever heard of this library. I'll admit I hadn't. So I think what we can do is like an easy win, add it to the docs as a recommendation it'd probably have to go on a couple pages. Sean, you'd be the expert here, but probably like Media Element would want that, or actually, I don't know where else we'd put it, or where we would put it, but we'll just say for now, for the sake of discussion, because we only got about 10 minutes left. But yeah, I say let's add it to our doc. Oh wait, oh no, but we can't add it to the docs. Okay, scratch that. Here we go. Dang it. Okay, so discoverability is the problem, but also Mac OS users want to leverage this, right? So if the feature exists for Windows, why wouldn't it exist for Mac, especially if we're going to add this to the toolkit? If we open up a proposal on our repo, I think that would give enough SEO to tie the two worlds together, right? So like the word MAUI and window size or whatever the keywords here, I think that would be enough to get that proposal to pop up in a Google search. Where
but isn't that already there? But isn't that already done? Because this, what we're literally looking at on your screen now, has got that, hasn't it?
I guess this only refers to Windows.
Google MAUI keep current window size. Windows? Windows? Let's see what pops up. And I don't know what other folks would Google. This is .NET MAUI.
There we go. Look, Gerald's got a video on it.
Yeah. It's literally, that's the yeah, where is Gerald? He's listening to us. He's there somewhere. Yeah.
Gosh. Well, I will say I can see the proposal, the suggestion being there, because we would have to do it for Mac OS and Windows. So whatever we push forward with, I think that needs to be the final configuration to include both platforms.
And would also for Android, where you got multiple screens and stuff, all these new devices coming out with foldable displays and stuff like that.
Oh,
and
I have no idea.
What about iPads, where you're multi-window on iPad now?
Yeah, we had similar discussion about probably modal window or some like pop-up, where we also decided not to include this feature just because it was specific for desktop. Also, it requires for us support Windows-specific API. It was not like like we are not super experts in this area probably. For specific API for Mac and for Windows. Also, for that moment of time, we decided not to include such features. Maybe we can rethink that and decided to include that once, but probably, as for me, it looks like this should be a specific separate package like this one from Morton, and as for me, it should be probably a similar package for Mac, for a specific platform, and not to include all packages into one community toolkit, because they are really specific for specific issues. Probably on, let's say, on Android, we don't have this issue at all. On Mac, it may be not an issue at all. But on Windows, there is an issue that we need a separate package. So that is why probably we should just somehow make this library more popular, but not to include this code just copy pasted into community toolkit.
I like George's suggestion.
I don't see a big issue including it as a dependency. But yeah, even if somebody not need this package.
Well, somebody there mentioned adding it to the sample app and maybe doing a few demos there for the Windows version. I think George mentioned it in the samples app, and just doing that and just letting it be an example.
I think that's
and we don't actually integrate it directly into the kit.
Yeah, I'd say that's probably the perfect easy win for right now. Because I'll say this sounds like something we're not going to solve today, but is definitely a bigger discussion around. Because I didn't even think about iOS and Android, but yeah, you're right. We'll probably have to support all 4 platforms anyways. So we can put it in the sample app, recommending folks to use it. Anybody got time in the next couple of days to slap it in the sample app?
I'm on Media 3, sorry. I'm doing Media 3 right now.
I can take a look.
I'm back to work tomorrow, so I won't have time until next week.
Cool. All right, thanks, Sean.
Sure.
Yeah, I imagine we'll just have to include a if directive here around restore WinUI Windows position to say only if we're on Windows. But and then maybe above that we add a comment that points to Morton's docs here, and it'll help somebody certainly. All right, let's keep rolling, gang. Good discussion, great discussion actually. And actually, why don't we? Cliff, are you cool if I reopen this? It sounds like we'll want to keep this one going.
Yeah.
All right.
Can you assign discussions as well? Do they get them?
You can at the top, can't you?
I don't think so. I see category, labels, and participants.
I'll just stick a comment in there. So
all right. Okay. Next discussion.
Again, this is the one we talked about. This is the one we talked about last. And we because we added a. We talked about this last month, wasn't it? Not the other one. And this was the one that we thought would be a good add, but neither of us are myself or Brandon were saying that we were great at doing the source generation stuff. I think Brandon, you're far better than I am at it, but but there is some discussion a bit further down, isn't there, about the kind of the way to do it as opposed to the way it's been suggested. It's further down. There's a bit more discussion that's gone on about kind of what should be done and the way it should be done. I quite like the idea because it does simplify things, but equally would it confuse people? Does it make it easier for people to onboard to MAUI because they've got less code to write?
I mean, how many times do you have to copy and paste the bindable property definition to remind yourself how it's structured?
Yeah. Well, first you got to look it up, and then you got to paste.
So it's going to save you a Google or two, isn't it? So
Yeah, I'll confess. This is what I said last month. I blame myself for blocking this one because if we actually go back to the PRs, Pedro opened up a PR for this back when he was still on the core maintainer team, all the way back here. And I asked too many questions because Pedro basically did it as a proof of concept. It was like, hey, check it out. I got it working. And I was like, well, what if you want to do it like this? And what if you want to add in this? And what if you want to add in this? And it's like, no, I got it working as a proof of concept. So what we chatted about last month was Vlad's already approved it. We could probably merge this right now. But basically merging this PR just to get things started because this PR, I'm not able to find the code in real time. The PR is just local to us. Like these classes aren't public. So we'd be able to use the bindable property generator in our code. And then we can fix those rough edges that I unintentionally ended up blocking this PR with, where as we go and we try to make a bindable property and then the attribute doesn't work, I think that's the perfect time to just add in that functionality real quick. Well, real quick. it's source generators, but I've heard that these ChatGPT tools are really helpful with source generators. So you might be able to even just go and say, hey, this is what I want to do. ChatGPT, can you do it for me? Or Copilot.
I can add they also with source generator, but not incremental source generator. Yeah, I tried it multiple times, and incremental source generator didn't produce the right code for me when I used it with ChatGPT. So yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
I think the other thing we talked about as well, Brandon. The other thing we talked about as well, Brandon, was whether this should live with us or whether it should live with the MVVM library, because that's where the source generation is for iCommands, etc. Whether this really isn't something for the MAUI community toolkit, it should, because bindable properties isn't just a MAUI thing, is it? So
It's
a MAUI thing.
Well,
it's a different type, and in the WPF world, it's dependency property. So.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
So I could see a world where there's an abstraction layer and both would work, but the bindable property type is hyper specific to MAUI. So yeah, it would go in us. So
I thought they had one that was very similar, so it'd be okay.
If anybody's able to just or Vlad, I saw, since you already have approved it, do you want to give this just one quick look over again, since it's been open for a year, and if it still looks good?
And probably I approved it half a year ago. So yeah.
Oh yeah, August 6th. Almost exactly a year. Vlad, if you got the time the next couple of days, give this another quick review. And if it still looks good, you can leave a comment. You can tag one of us in it. We can click merge, or actually, I think you can click merge, even though you're the one that reviewed it. We already got
some
merge conflicts.
Let's
do it. Unless if anybody doesn't think we should, speak now. But again, it's not public, so this is something we'll consume internally until we feel like we could make it public. So shouldn't be any issues opened up or any bugs or new feature requests immediately eating up more of our time.
I think as soon as we update our sample app and see it works, we can make this source generator public.
Love it. Cool. Well, thanks, Vlad, and Cliff. Thanks for bringing us back and saving this pull request. Okay, it looks like this is the last discussion on discussions. And Cliff, I assume this is you as well. Oh, you're muted,
your mic's off.
You're muted.
You look great, though.
I don't think I did that. I think that's been picked up from a long time ago.
All right.
There's a comment at the bottom. I don't remember adding that one. So no.
Works for me. That's because there's no activity. All right, cool. Let's keep rolling then, because we are at the top of the hour. This is the last one, I promise. But long story short, this is the new feature coming to the MAUI Markup Toolkit. This is something that took me way longer than I should have to merge this. But basically, let's see, where can I find a good example? I think back in the proposal. There we go. Back in January, I was like, yeah, I can do this. No problem. I'll knock it out on the weekend. And then I totally forgot. So long story short, if you ever use styles with MAUI Markup, we've got some new APIs coming to where you can take an existing style and then pass it into our style. We have our own style of type T that we have in MAUI Markup. Long story short, just makes it easier to use in the fluent syntax. So we added this overload to the constructor for our style, where you can pass an existing MAUI style, and that way you don't have to reinvent the wheel or change any of your code. And then with that, so this is it. This is like 6 lines of code. But also with that, I added another implicit operator. So if you want to cast a Microsoft MAUI control style to our style of type T, you can just do that now thanks to this operator. So you can just, let's see if I can show a quick example. I know I wrote a unit test for it. I hope I wrote a unit test for it. Form style. Okay, so here's the example of using it. Like, it's a MAUI style. I don't know why I called it form style. Whoops. But yeah, here we go. So like var style equals, and then you can just cast directly between the two. So improves the interoperability, improves the code. VJ, thanks for recommending this. I apologize for taking 6 months to finally merge it, but we'll volunteer Gerald to push out a new release maybe tomorrow. And let me edit this real quick, because that new release should be 4.1.0. Whoops. If I can type, there we go.
Did we submit a docs PR for the style change?
Oh, dang it, busted. Yep, you're right, John.
I mean, I approved it without even checking that detail.
No, the pull request still says pending documentation. I'm sorry, that one's on me. No. So
I don't mind that. I've probably got some time tomorrow or over the weekend.
Oh, could you? Oh, that'd be great. Yeah, I get on. I got to drive 3 hours to Chicago right now, and then I got a flight tomorrow. So, if you could save my butt, Sean, that'd be huge. And then once the docs are ready, we can we can release the feature. Good catch. Thank you. Thanks for keeping me honest. Okay, gang. Well, that's it. That's it for the agenda. Any final words? I know we're 5 minutes over time, but
will we have the StreamYard thing on next month?
Yeah, for anybody wondering, obviously we're streaming live on the .NET Foundation YouTube channel, so they give us tools to do that, and we use StreamYard. But it looks like the credit card on the account expired, so we got bumped down to the free tier where we can't remove this StreamYard logo you see in the corner. That's why the background's just black. I didn't even know if our intro countdown video was going to work today or if the chat was going to work. So fortunately, we're still here. It just looks a little different. And yes, we are powered by StreamYard. Cool. Well, thanks so much, guys. Appreciate you guys coming on. It's always good seeing everybody. Thanks for joining us. For everybody in the comments, George, always great to see you. Lewis, thanks for joining us. Lucas, thank you too. And we'll see you next month on the first Thursday of every month at 12 p.m. Pacific. We're always here streaming what's latest in the toolkit, and we'll see you then.